What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title of today's video, I am finally coming around to filming my first update with baby number 2. I did want to film this a little bit sooner, like around 6 weeks or so, but I decided it was probably best if we waited until we had our first ultrasound, just to make sure that everything was looking good, it's a viable pregnancy, and to double check exactly how far along I am and when my due date is. So as of today, February 8th, I am exactly 8 weeks and 3 days pregnant, so the baby is about the size of a raspberry. Everything is looking great so far. We heard the heartbeat. We had our ultrasound at exactly 7 weeks, so about a week and a half ago, and everything is perfect so far. So here I am with my first update. Believe it or not, the first question that you get when you announce that you're pregnant is, did you plan this, or was this a planned pregnancy? And I just think that's kind of like a crazy question for people to ask, because sometimes babies aren't necessarily planned, even though, you know, when the mood is right and you're in the moment, you kind of know what you're doing. Everybody kind of knows how babies are made, so most of the time it's not really a surprise when you find out that you're pregnant. But in case anybody is curious, this baby kind of was planned, even though we were hoping to actually start trying to conceive around April instead of, you know, when it happened in December. And that's only because we had a few things planned for the beginning of the year as far as like trips is concerned. We had our honeymoon coming up, which was supposed to be happening this month in February, and then we thought we were going to be going on a cruise around March or April, and I didn't really want to be pregnant on either one of those occasions, but they have either been canceled or postponed for now, and you just kind of change your plans when you find out that you're pregnant, because it's obviously more important. So the first very obvious symptom that has been really hindering my day-to-day is the nausea. When I was pregnant with Aubrie, from day 1 to the last day of my first trimester, I had nothing but nausea from sun up to sundown. I wouldn't even call it morning sickness. It was constant. It kept me up at night. It was really debilitating. I couldn't really get out of bed. Driving anywhere sucked. For the most part, I barely ate. I really lived off of like water and ice cubes from Chick-fil-A and Zaxby's were my favorite because they're like easy to chew, and it kind of helped my nausea. I just remember feeling so sick, and it was just the nausea. I wasn't able to actually throw up, and in my opinion, that's worse, because when I feel like throwing up, all I want to do is actually throw up and get it out of my system. But I would literally like have a trash can with me at all times, even when I was driving somewhere, and I would feel like I need to throw up, but it would never actually happen. This time around, very early in my pregnancy, up until about like 6.5 weeks, I would feel a little bit nauseous, but I was more hungry. And that was different because, like I said, in my first pregnancy, I wanted nothing to do with food because everything sounded disgusting. But this time, I felt a little bit nauseous, but I still wanted all the food. And I wasn't really craving anything in particular at that point. Like, aside from like protein, like I wanted chicken sandwiches and like actual meat. Like I wanted a lot of meat. And for me, in the beginning anyway, if I kind of stayed full, my nausea would kind of go away. As soon as I hit 7 weeks, everything changed. I was actually getting sick at this point. So the nausea would come, I would try to eat like I was already kind of used to, but then I would throw up. So I've actually thrown up a lot this pregnancy, considering the fact that I'm only 8.5 weeks. So I was going to say that the nausea in my first pregnancy was worse by far, but this time I think it's worse now because I actually throw up what I eat, so I'm never really satisfied. And then I have my 2-year-old climbing all over me and stepping on my stomach and like pulling on me and just wanting my attention, and it's heartbreaking, but it makes it 1,000 times more difficult. The second thing I'm feeling, which kind of started more recently, I didn't really have this in the beginning. I was tired because I was nauseous. But this time I think like the fatigue is really setting in big time. You know, when Aubrie goes down for her nap, I'm like, okay, I like really want to go to bed. Or even before that, like the fatigue will hit me and I'll feel like I really need to like shut my eyes and go lay down for a minute. Once nighttime comes around, like as soon as I put Aubrie down for bed at like 9 or 9:15, I'm ready to go ahead and get in bed, and I'll fall asleep really easily, and I'll probably stay asleep for a solid like 3 or 4 hours. But then it's like insomnia wakes me up. And I don't know if you can actually call this insomnia, but I'll wake up at like an ungodly hour and then I can't fall asleep the rest of the night. Like I'll toss and turn, my back is hurting, I can't find a comfortable spot. And it's just from then until the alarm goes off to wake up at like 8 or 8:30. At that point, I have been tossing and turning every single hour. As far as cravings, when I'm able to get past the nausea, or if I'm able to eat soon enough before the nausea really hits me, I'm still craving a lot of protein, a lot of meat. My big thing is spicy chicken sandwiches, which I did actually crave when I was pregnant with Aubrie, but it just didn't really settle with me, and I was only able to satisfy that craving a couple of times. But this time, I really, really want spicy chicken sandwiches like all the time. I don't care from where. It could be from Wendy's, it can be the frozen ones that you get from Walmart, it can be from Chick-fil-A, it can be from Burger King, it doesn't matter. They're all delicious, except this time it's giving me really, really bad heartburn, which I'll touch on in a second. But a lot of meat, a lot of citrusy stuff. So orange juice sounds good at any time of day, even though I haven't really drank a whole lot of it because I kind of really only want it in the morning and only from certain places. So like the jug that you get from the grocery store doesn't taste good at home, but the little bottles that you get from the gas station, those are delicious. I could drink like 3 of those, but it just kind of depends on where I'm getting it from. So I haven't had particular aversions, but something that I'll crave one day, I will absolutely hate and be repulsed by the next. So one of the first things that I was able to cook after like finding out I was pregnant and starting to feel the symptoms was like meatball subs. So I made them in the crock pot and, you know, got some fresh bread from the grocery store and made them, and they were amazing that first night. And then of course we had a lot of leftovers the following day. I couldn't even think about them without starting to gag. So it makes it really frustrating when I go to the grocery store and I stock up on a lot of food that sounds good in the moment, but then like the next day or a couple days or 3 days after, those foods sound disgusting. So I better kind of eat what I want right then in the moment and not buy too much of it, or it'll just go to waste because everything sounds disgusting. This time around, something I'm really struggling with is acne. When I was pregnant with Aubrie, I didn't have any, I can't remember ever really struggling with like a pimple or, you know, my skin breaking out. I feel like I was kind of glowing in my first pregnancy, which is kind of funny because I heard a wives' tale that said you knew you were pregnant with a girl if you had a lot of acne because a baby girl would steal the mother's beauty, is what I heard. But this time around, my acne at one point was really, really bad. I was getting it all down my chin and it covered my forehead, and some of them were even like painful breakouts. I'm not really somebody who struggled with acne a lot, even like when I was in middle school and high school. Like sometimes I did, but it wasn't a problem for me. Thank God. I guess I'm really fortunate. But a friend of mine who has a boy and a girl told me that when she was pregnant with her son, it was the same way because it's all the testosterone running in your body. So this time around for baby number 2, we're not going to find out the sex of the baby, obviously, until the baby is born. I can't wait for that moment when the baby is born and we find out what it is, and then we can share it with the world, but we'll always have that private moment. Everybody's kind of throwing in their 2 cents as far as what they think that it is. So I was joking with my friend. I was like, well, you just want it to be a boy, and that's why you're telling me. But she did say that it was different. When she was pregnant with her son, her face was breaking out like crazy, but when she was pregnant with her daughter, she was glowing her whole pregnancy. And that's what I experienced when I was pregnant with Aubrie, so who knows. As far as my weight is concerned, in the very, very beginning, like from the time I found out I was pregnant until about 6.5 weeks before I started to get really sick, I felt like I was gaining a lot because of how much I was eating. But now that that's kind of settled down and I've tried to start being more active and start walking in the morning, it's kind of come to a standstill. So far I've only gained about 4.5 pounds. Another thing that I'm experiencing a lot, which I don't remember ever having in my first pregnancy, is like an extreme thirst. I wish that I would quench that thirst more with water. I've never been a good water drinker. I'm trying to drink a lot more water now than I did in my first pregnancy, because I know that really would have helped with like my skin elasticity and I wouldn't have had so many stretch marks. This time, just in general, I'm a lot more thirsty, and anytime I can get a drink, whether it be like a Capri Sun or Gatorade or just water, anything I can, I will literally chug it. I have been having a lot of headaches. This is something I also experienced in my first pregnancy. I know it's because of, like I said, the extra blood flow, but this time the headaches kind of hit me late in the day and I'll have to go to bed with a headache. I'm not a medicine taker. I just kind of hate it. I hate swallowing pills. It would probably alleviate the pain of a headache, but I'm just stubborn like that, and I try to just like rest and sleep through it and chug some water and see if it'll go away. But the headaches have been really bad. Like I'll feel it from the top of my head down to my ears and like all the way in the front. So this whole front section of my head is always usually pounding by the end of the day, and I'll also feel it in my neck. So those are kind of really annoying. My sense of smell. When I'm not pregnant, my sense of smell is really strong. It's one of like my most prominent senses, and I'm really sensitive to it. Like if I can smell somebody's body odor, pregnant or not pregnant, it's gonna really gross me out. So when I'm pregnant and those are just amplified, it's just insane. Especially because a lot of the smells are what make me nauseous and sick to my stomach. Like if I can smell the trash, I want to take it out a lot sooner, even if the bag isn't full. I can't really be lazy with doing the dishes because I can't stand the smell of the dishes in the sink and things like that. It's really, really hard to change Aubree's diaper. Obviously, that's never really pleasant, but when you just want to vomit at the sight and smell of everything and then having to get up and change a dirty diaper, it's really, really hard. So pray for me this time, because those types of things are really difficult, and I hope that that either lessens, or maybe after I'm out of the first trimester and my nausea isn't as bad, that it'll be a little bit easier. This time I'm having a lot of heartburn. I didn't have heartburn in my first pregnancy until way later on, when my belly was huge, and it was understandable that I was getting heartburn because obviously like your stomach is in a completely different area because you've got this huge baby that's pushing all of your food up. This time the heartburn started before I even really like confirmed that I was pregnant. I pretty much get heartburn pretty much every single day unless I eat things that don't really trigger it as bad. But like a spicy chicken sandwich is certainly not going to help pregnancy heartburn, but I can't help it. It's kind of worth the risk for me. It's not like unbearable, but I know that the bigger that I get, if I continue to eat like spicy things, it is going to be pretty bad. So I'll just have to be mindful of that. But it did start really, really early on this time, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't get much worse than it already is. In the very beginning of this pregnancy, like right around 5 weeks up until I would say 6.5 or 7 weeks, I was having really, really bad bloating. I don't remember this at all when I was pregnant with Aubrie, but it was so bad this time that like I've already switched into maternity clothes. I already looked 4 months pregnant because the bloating was so bad, and it was incredibly painful. I don't remember that symptom before. I know it's a major symptom of pregnancy. In fact, one of my friends that is pregnant, that's one of like her main symptoms that she's felt, and it was painful for her too. So it's kind of gone away now. I didn't really have to take anything for it, but which thank God, because it was really, really uncomfortable, but that was a new symptom that I hadn't experienced before. And the last symptom that I can think of that I'm having now is cramping. I didn't really have much in my first pregnancy, although every time I got like an ache or a pain, it freaked me out, and I probably went to the emergency room for any silly reason a handful of times when I was pregnant with Aubrie because everything scared me. I had miscarried when I was younger, so Aubrie is kind of my rainbow baby. I mean, I didn't think I could get pregnant for a number of reasons based on what the doctors were telling me. So with this pregnancy, everything scared me, everything worried me. I constantly wanted to hear Aubrey's heartbeat. I was anxious for every ultrasound or every doctor's appointment when I could hear the heartbeat on the Doppler and just get a checkup. This time around, I'm a lot more relaxed. I think it's because I already have Aubrie. Not to say that I don't care about this pregnancy, but if God forbid something did happen, my mindset is just that I'm already so blessed with Aubrie. And, you know, she does keep me busy, so my mind isn't constantly like, oh my God, you know, the baby isn't big enough for me to feel it yet. What if it doesn't have a heartbeat right now? So I'm not as worried this time, but this time I am having actual cramping. I mostly feel it at the end of the day, like when I'm laying in bed ready to go to sleep. It's not too painful. It's just like I can kind of feel it, and it's just there. I feel a little bit of it in my back, which I know sometimes can be alarming, but I haven't had any spotting or any bleeding, so it's not something I'm really concerned with at this point. So to close out the video, I just wanted to mention a few things that I'm kind of enjoying or that are kind of making things a little bit easier for me. The first thing is the Unisom and B6 combination for nausea. The Unisom is just sleep tabs. I got them both from the grocery store. I want to say 25 milligram, which is standard. And then my husband actually found the B6 vitamins, and these are actually 100 milligram. As far as what my research is saying, that is a little bit high, and so it worried me for a little bit. So I went ahead and I ordered a pill cutter so I can cut them in half. I had to kind of work through a few variations of this combination because the Unisom is really, really strong for me. I don't know if it's the Unisom itself or if it's in combination with fatigue that you normally get in your pregnancy, but I decided to also cut these in half, so it's really only 12.5 milligrams that I'm taking at night. And then I cut this in half. So I take 50 milligrams of B6 with the 12.5 milligrams of Unisom at night, and then I cut the other half of the B6 in half again, so it's 25 milligrams, and I take that later in the morning, like after I've, you know, gotten up to go walk or whatever, and that's what's held me through the day. So like today is really the first day that I feel really good. In this moment, I don't feel like I need to hurry up and go throw up. Today I'm holding down all of my food. I think that combination is really working well for me, and it equals up to only 75 milligrams of the B6. And I am going to try to see if maybe not taking the Unisom every single night, but maybe every other night will give me the same result, because I'm not the biggest fan of taking Unisom. It's just not my favorite. I don't like the sensation of taking a sleep aid. Another thing that I'm really enjoying that my sister actually sent to me for Christmas, it's the book by Ricky Lake and Abby Epstein, but it's called Your Best Birth, and I'm only about a third of the way through, and so far it's really just about like looking at yourself and deciding what type of birth is best for you and your baby, and really being strong and voicing those opinions, finding the right birth team as far as like an obstetrician or a midwife, anybody that would be supportive for your idea of your best birth. It's a funny coincidence that she got this for me for Christmas and then I ended up being pregnant, and it's just a really great read. So I try to read a chapter a night, unless it's a night that I'm not feeling well. I don't know if you can hear Aubrie on the monitor, but I need to hurry up and wrap this up because she's waking up from her nap. The final thing that I have been loving, and I think it comes in handy because I was struggling so much with my acne this pregnancy, I ordered this amazing automatic face brush to help me keep my face clean. I got it off of Amazon. It's technically called a beauty care massager. It's got 2 speeds on the actual little handheld device, and then it's got these 7 attachments. This is the one I use most of the time because the shorter it is, obviously it's a lot stronger, so it gets off the dead skin. But I'll just add in my favorite face wash. Normally I use the charcoal one and I just get it from Target, but I'll add that right in and lather it up with the brush, and my face has been a lot better now that I'm getting like a lot of that dirt off, and I use it every other day so it's not too abrasive on my skin. That has really come in handy as far as keeping my skin clean, and so far that is the only handful of products I've been using to help me with my sanity in this pregnancy. But that's all I have so far for this update. I think I'm going to combine the rest of my weekly updates 2 weeks at a time, so the next time I'll be able to sit down and film is going to be probably right around 10 and a half weeks or so. Between now and then I am going to have my first appointment with my midwife, so I will have more information to update on that. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next update. Bye!